Hello. Hello and welcome. We are on episode 3 of our What's Alive series for Business by Design. And my name is Ashley, and I'm here with Bella, if this is your first time catching us. Today we're going to be talking about Pluto. Pluto's an area of inquiry that we are diving into in our Business by Design container. And while me and Bella were preparing for our call today, we uncovered some really cool synergies in our charts, and we wanted to talk about them a little bit and just have a chat about Pluto. So, Bella, did you want to come in and share anything? My internet's kind of being weird, so I need to close some boxes.
I feel the glyph, and I don't know if everybody remember the glyph. Maybe if you have looked at your astrology chart, you will see it. It's like a cross, and then on it, it has like a crescent, like the crescent moon. It's like a moon that lays down, and then it has like a ball. So it's like spirit in that crescent ball, and then on the other side is death. So it's this beautiful twofold way of death and birth, or awakening and growing in that soul spirit consciousness. And then there are things that are all the time purged out. And the way that we speak about Pluto in evolutionary astrology is that it's the intent of the soul. So when you look in the gene keys, for example, at your Pluto activation, you will see what the soul has kind of struggled with if you look at the shadow in other lifetimes. You can look what sign it's in as well. You can look what house it's in to see what area where there has been soul growth and soul struggle. But as we always know, if you can kind of perpetuate the shadow. So what we have looked at today in our course was the polarity point, and that's also something we speak about in evolutionary astrology and in the gene keys, but we call it programming partner. So polarity point or programming partner, what's on the other side of that Pluto? Because you're going to have an opposite sign, you're going to have in the I Ching a mirror opposite in the hexagram. So it can really help you to not kind of spin around in that shadow. I have we're going to see the charts maybe, but I have the 32, so I can spin around in the shadow of the fear of failure forever. But when I bring in that 42, which is the programming partner, the polarity point, there can be detachment, there can be celebration, there can be this natural cycles of things that end and things that die, and also new things that can grow and awaken. So for me, there is something very powerful with Pluto. The fact that we are in the 47 in the transits right now, which is about karma and kind of the underworld and oppression. It's like everything is going together, and Pluto is in trine, so a harmonic aspect to the sun today. And we also have that 22, which is the Earth and Neptune right now. So Virgo, which is very much everyday life in the now. And then we have Pisces, which is very much out there beyond what's even human. And they are looking at each other. And in that kind of polarity is where we can look at those places where we're kind of going round and round, where there is a corruption that makes us do the same thing. And what's on the other side of that? What's beyond that? What needs to die so that something new can get birth? And when we deny the shadow, when we deny that something has to die, that's when Pluto comes in kind of invisibly, and then kind of just runs havoc and takes away your core stability, both your material, your relational, in all kinds of ways. So gradually working with those things that need to detox, that need to purge, is a very good way to kind of not have your head cut off of this very powerful archetype.
Super exciting. Yeah, so Bella and I wanted to talk about kind of what we discovered with ours, and I'm going to pull up our charts. Let me get this up for you. Did you want to say something, Bella, about Pluto moving super slow, and that like most people have similar Plutos if they're born in the same?
Yeah, so it takes 248 years to go around. So people that are alive now, we all have, well, there are some people have it in Cancer still, but Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio are the people that are kind of like young adults or adults right now. And what I like with the gene keys is that, we can say that so many people, everybody that's born between 72 and 84 have it in Libra. But when we look at the gene keys, we have we have many more steps because we have 64 instead of 12 signs. So then it gives us a little bit more, specifically what it is about, and also that we have the lines that kind of tell us about, you know, in what realm are we living this out. But yeah, it's generational, and now people that are born have Pluto in Capricorn, which is about responsibility and kind of building new structures. So possibly the children that are born now are going to be the ones that are really hardworking for having like the new world with the new structures coming up. So hopefully we can allow children that are born now to not grow up too fast and not be too responsible. You know, when you grow up in our 7-year-old and you have to wash your hands, you know, in a way for COVID and the masks, like that can be a kind of serious way of starting your life. So let's make sure that we give play and we give nurturing as well to these children that kind of grow up with part of like that social distancing, which is not a good thing for children and their development.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is the genetic matrix chart. It's the astrology chart. So if you go on genetic matrix, and we have the link for genetic matrix on here, if you don't have a subscription to that, it gives you all of your placements from your personality side and your design side. And what's different is that in astrology, it's only your personality side. It's only this black side that's usually listed on here, not the red side too. So it's really cool to see kind of what comes alive when you're looking at both the body side and the personality side. And I have highlighted here Bella's Pluto. So Bella has Pluto in 32.5, and this is the guardian archetype. And she has Pluto in retrograde, which Pluto is in retrograde, like, what is it, 5 months out of the year? Is it out of the year? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah. It's in retrograde quite a bit during the year. And then she has her design side, Pluto is in 50.1. This one's the Maestro. And both of them she has in the 5th house, and both of them are in Libra. So is there something that you've discovered about your Pluto being in, you know, the 5th house in Libra and having these archetypes there?
Yeah, so when you look at the chart, you can see them, they're very close, because in 3 months, like Ashley was saying, because it's a very slow planet, they're going to be very close. They're going to be either in the same gene key, same gate, or just after each other. They can also be together, because it could have gone like retrograde and gone back probably. So it's interesting. It's kind of that place where you're going to have both of them very close. For me, I feel like the 5th house is all about creativity, and it's all... Well, I feel the fear of failure, of course, in the gene key, but there's also something about maybe I've struggled in other lifetimes. My soul has struggled to really know how to express myself, and to do it in a way that's recognized as well, because 5th house is Leo energy and it needs to have an audience. So how do you do it? And then the 7th is even more, the 7th, which is the Libra energy, the 7th house Libra energy, that I feel even more. I've been in those relationships, especially when I was young, both with my mom somehow, because she was very ill when I was young, but also in my first like intimate relationships, it was very much about kind of becoming the other person, or kind of becoming part of the other person. Like that thing with Libra, where it's the relationships and you're more about the other and yourself, you live for the other, and then your life becomes a little box that you try to do in the, like there have been relationship dynamics that were not healthy, and that were like really kind of self-erasing. And I believe that with having it in the 5th house, self-erasing is the worst thing that you could do. So fear of failure, kind of giving yourself up for the other, and something of like how to express yourself. I think there is something, the last thing about the polarity point. So if it's the 11th house and the 5th house, there is something about, for me, where I have the sun also in the 11th house, there is some kind of like, for me or for the collective, there is some kind of tension there, like for my own life, living it fully, or doing it for something that I'm learning on that kind of axis between the 5th house and the 11th house, that is part of the balancing of Libra, I guess, as well in this life. So this is like, you know, just a very spontaneous kind of summary. But when you read about it, for example, in Jeffrey Green's book, then you can really understand what does it mean, like what does the soul carry, and how that can it work these themes so that it can become free and evolve and, you know, wake up to itself.
Yeah, Yeah, and we were speaking in Business by Design about those polarity points too. Bella was talking about the 5th house and the 11th house. You can also look at the programming partners. So she is the 32, and the programming partner of the 32 is the 42. And she doesn't have, you can see she doesn't have the 42 here. However, I carry the 42. So it's like Pluto almost became that matchmaker to bring in that polarity point, to bring in that opposition, to kind of balance where it could be veiled or it could be difficult. And so I came in with the 42 and the 3 because the programming partner of the 50 is the 3. So I have the 3 in my pearl and the 42 in my culture sphere. So of course, the only way that we're going to come together is in business because it's activated in my pearl. And Bella's super business oriented as well. So she's going to bring in somebody that carries the 42 and the 3 in their pearl sequence, which is super interesting and cool. And then we can also see that with the 32 and the 50, they're part of 2 different codon rings, the codon ring of illusion and the codon ring of Illuminati. And then if we go to not that, if we go to my chart, you're going to see I have the 44 in my conscious Pluto and the 28 in my unconscious. And which ones are part of the Illuminati and part of the
44 and 50, the Illuminati, and then 32 and 28, the codon ring of illusion. So they are 2 full codon rings. There are only 2 keys in those 2 codon rings, and that's where we are marrying.
Yeah. So Pluto's kind of bringing us together to activate these codon rings. Bella does have the 44 in her culture sphere, so she does have that codon ring within herself, right? But I'm going to bring in the Pluto aspect of it. And we're going to come together in the area of Pluto, which Pluto is the ruler of the 8th house. And so is Scorpio. So it's like death and it's shadow and it's the underworld and it's transformation. And I mean, there's so many different things that it can represent. So of course, we're going to come together to kind of dive into the shadows. And a lot of what I've been through, I have 44.1. I'm a 5-1 and I'm a single definition. You can see that right here. It's easier for me to do things on my own. I'm also a perfectionist. I have the whole 1858 channel. And I'm super particular about the way that I like things done. And so it's hard to be in relationship because I'm a control freak and I want things in the way that I want them. And there's something here about me having the 44 in Pluto and the 28 in Pluto. 28 is the Daredevil and it's embracing the dark side. It's about the underworld. Pluto's about the underworld. There's this unconscious aspect of myself that really wants to go deep, dark, into the shadows, into the unexplored territory, into the veiled, into this experience, into the fears. And so what Pluto does for me is my desire to go into the darkness, into the shadows, gets expressed through my relationships. So I'm going to experience that through my relationships and my relating. And oftentimes what I find is that if my partner doesn't want to go deep and into those depths, then it doesn't last and it dissolves. And I've always had a lot of guilt. I have a core wound of guilt, the 5th line. I've always had a lot of guilt with my relationships don't last. I don't have a lot of friendships that are sustaining. And it's because it gets to a point where they don't want to go deeper or they don't want to do the work. And it's been tough. And I've had a lot of shame around that as well. And so it's interesting to be able to me and Bella's relationship is withstanding. She's a Scorpio moon. She's got a lot of Scorpio aspects in her. So she's not even afraid of going deep and dark and even going into the chaos with me. So it's kind of lasted. And normally when it's just me and her, I feel the best. I feel the freest. I feel amazing. And then when we always pull in like a third or something else, I start to get uncomfortable. And then things start coming up. And so in order to pull in more, because my whole thing, my Pluto is about calling in my fractal. And so she's going to pull in people and I'm going to be like, they're for me. They're not for me. I'm going to be able to figure out over time that, no, they're not even on my fractal. And then Bella's like, I just want to have partnership. And she's going to bring people in, but it's not going to be able to be sustaining inside the container with me because I'm kind of like that. I'm like going to attack them or something. I don't even know. I just can see kind of that's what's kind of happening. But anyways, that's kind of how my Pluto plays out. What's your experience in the dynamic that we have together?
I mean, my eyes are falling on is that you have, and it's not exactly an answer to that, but you have the body Pluto in the 8th house, and then you have the other Pluto in the 10th house. So it's almost like you know, when I feel you being powerful with me in business is when you go down to that, like it's Scorpio energy twice, because it's Pluto and it's 8th house in your body. So when you go in and you do the sexual transmutation, you dare to come back into the body, you dare to face those wounded places with your partner, with your husband, like that's when I see that you come out into business and you dare to be, you know, you dare to be you dare to be in teamwork with me because you're doing the work. Because otherwise it would be like, oh yeah, Bella, she has this Scorpio moon and she has all these secret and all this tantra work. No, when you are doing it on the inside, on the body, in that part and making that conscious, that's when you come out and you are the one giving examples to people, like tangible examples as a 5-1 of like, this is how this can happen. This is how this is a transmutation. And that is the way that the fractal is attracted to work with us. So it's perfect. And this shows why human design and Jinkies is so amazing, because you have this soul imprint that you want to bow to. We want to go into the design and say thank you and live that design, and then it's going to have a certain expression of our personality. But it really comes from leaning into the passenger seat and allowing the wisdom of the DNA of the body of the vehicle to lead us, and then things can happen in expression that we're actually can be in teamwork and empowered in teamwork instead of being a loner saying it's not worth it in that 44.1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've noticed too that I can sense too in the other person where they have stuff that they haven't worked through, and you can too, like people showing their true colors, and that includes the shadow and the light together and not having preference. And so when somebody comes and they don't want to go there, and they don't want to go there with us, because I'm all about going to the darkness with a team. I want to go together. I don't want to go by ourselves. Let's go into the darkness together. It's more powerful that way for me and for my transformation, and to witness how somebody does their own process. But when someone doesn't want to share that kind of transparency, then it's almost like I can't go any farther with them. And I've always gotten to that point with a lot of people. Now that I'm looking back at things, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, so they didn't want to go into the darkness. They didn't want to go into the conflict either. I have the 6.5 in my life's work, and sometimes it didn't work out because it dissolved because of conflict, and there was no resolution because they didn't want to go and see the parts of themselves. And at certain times, I didn't want to see that either because my Pluto was veiled, and I didn't want to see the dark side of me. I just wanted to stay in my, oh, I'm perfect, and I'm going to do it the right way, and all the stuff, all the stories. So it's really cool to be doing this exploration with Business by Design. This is the first time that we're doing it. So we're uncovering a lot of stuff within ourselves too, and finding patterns and synergies, and the way that the fractal works. It's like that fractal pattern is amazing. And like, you can't take for granted any of the partnerships and connections and friendships and attractions that you have, because you're attracted to something in them that shares this resonance in you, or this harmonic in you, or this polarity point in you. And when you can, like, even the ones that are super triggering to you, they have a key, they have a gift for you. And it's so cool to see that. It's like, that's where the transformation lives, especially for me. That's where the transformation lives. And Bella understands that because that's in her Jupiter. That's where expansion is for her. So, okay. Woo, that went by fast. I do have to hop off because I do have to go to my body work session. I'm doing network spinal analysis. Did you want to share anything or wrap this up, or anything else to say? Any call to action at all?
I mean, I feel like these are the places we want to go to with the Jinkies as well. So right now Ashley and I were exploring the Pluto and Pluto's moon, which is Chiron. So Pluto is kind of the mystery, because you need to kind of yield and be receptive to the shadow work, which is kind of weird. You can't force it, it's there. And then we are going to work with Chiron, which is that what goes around. So that is the hero's journey. And since it's going around Pluto, it's never really an easy journey, but that's the hero journey of being human. So I guess that my call to action for all of us is to say, okay, if there are 11 spheres in the Jinkies right now, but we know that all the gates, all the 26, and maybe even out to the asteroids are actually Jinkies. What story are they telling you? How can you work with them? How can you see what themes that they are bringing to you? And I think, I'm happy to have you, Ashley, to do this discovery with, even like last night when it kind of gets a bit hot and we don't know what it means. And then we stay with it, and then it comes out in a way that we couldn't imagine because we are actually just open to it coming through. So yeah, that's what I would just say.
So exciting. Yeah. And I'm so excited to go into the 5th house with you and to go into Leo. I'm a Leo moon and you have the 5th house. And then I have Scorpio in my Pluto and you're a Scorpio moon. So it seems like we also attracted on the moon side as well. We're like, let's bring in the this part. So I love it. And we'll continue to show up and share like our personal experience. I feel like this is a really good outlet to kind of role model what we're discovering with you all. I'd love to know what your Pluto is. So if you go and you look at your human design chart, I'd love to know at least what archetype, what gate that's in, and then let us know. I know Alyssa said she was 44. I don't know if anyone else commented, but yeah, it's alive, and we're gonna be feeling into Pluto for the next week. So if you have anything to share, post it in Unlock Your Design or Gene Keys in Human Design, any of our groups. And we'd love the discussion. But thanks for joining us today, and have a good luck diving into Pluto.